The first quarter of the Hollywood box office in 2025 has been off to an abysmal start. Its two big tentpole releases, both of which came from Disney, have been unmitigated disasters. And the fact that they just had enough spite left in their system to leave Captain Black Falcon America Man in theaters long enough for it to cross $400 million really drives that home. A film that cost upwards of that much money, finally crossing that threshold, still maintaining its 30th position in the MCU when it comes to box office returns. It's just going to get pushed to the side because you got Thunderbolts coming out, was it at the beginning of May? And then, of course, Snow White, and it's going to get shilled by Disney. And we got a couple of examples as to how they're going to be pushing it, at least for the next couple of weeks, before they can just pivot off to Lilo and Stitch. Because, they'll go ahead and give Snow White the open highway for the rest of the month, because Captain Black Falcon America Man is practically out of theaters at this point in time. And there's little competition, and anybody that was, or at least the studios thought might go over there and catch Cap 4, they might be a little bit more intrigued by that upcoming Minecraft movie, which, holy crap, man, the more I see about that film, the more it makes my skin crawl. And I'm not even a big Minecraft guy, but I take a look at that cast, and it's they got everything wrong on that one. That is definitely very much cut from the same cloth that the Borderlands film was made on, so I could see that being a catastrophic failure, but not on the same level as Snow White and Captain America, because even you have here, this headline is totally wrong. We talked about this yesterday. The $87.3 million global opening weekend. Okay, I can go ahead and pull up the actual numbers. $85 million. So no, this is why I don't like to jump the gun and do the whole, well, here's the projected numbers, because more often than not, the projected numbers are the wrong numbers. And it just so happens they're in a different direction than the Oscars. The last time we talked about this, how they just managed to find another 1.5 million viewers out there. Oh, hey guys, no, actually, it's not the worst viewed Oscars. It's actually the best in the past 2 years and the best since the pandemic. Trust us, the Oscars aren't dead. But anyways, Disney's live-action take on Snow White has come in with a global launch of 85 from 51 material international box office markets. The update of the classic 1937 animation grossed an estimated estimated, but an actual $42 million on its opening weekend, which is absolute trash. In a like-for-like offshore markets at today's rates and excluding China, the bow is 16% below Cinderella, which came out in 2014, not adjusting for inflation, 19% under 2019's Dumbo, and 33% off from A Little Mermaid in 2023. All of those would go on to lose considerable amounts of money, except for Cinderella. I'm not actually entirely sure about the financial backing on that one, but that was one of the first of the new wave of remakes, because we've also got a list, right, of the live action remakes, and I find it really interesting, right? Because let's just go over the fact that, okay, cool, yeah, Captain America Brave New World crossed $400 million globally, yes, as it winds down, Disney has the top 2 releases of the year so far, but bro, you're just willing Captain Black Falcon America Man to a point where you just go, well, actually, it made $400 million, and that kind of seems good, instead of just, staying locked in the $300 million mark for, multiple weeks on end. But, oh no, it's $400 million, now looks so much better, and it's going to be arguably twice as much as Snow White ends up making, because when you take a look, right, something that shocked me, because you got Metacritic that's out here, which, oh boy, the reaction, and I find it funny, right, because on Rotten Tomatoes, we took a look at that, and it's still, the critic approval rating hasn't improved at all whatsoever, but just that astroturfed popcorn meter, the audience score that ended up getting replaced by the popcorn meter, has it at a mid-70s mark, and for what I've heard about Snow White, I haven't watched it, I've just heard a couple of breakdowns and watched a few reviews on it. It's just the fact that you have the paying audience coming out and saying, oh, it's a 7, it's not bad, but normally it's a number that you could look at and go, well, that's kind of crazy. But then you've also got to compare and contrast that with, those are the people that are going to jump through the hoops in order to review on Rotten Tomatoes now on the audience side of things. They've got to confirm and they've got to verify their purchase on Fandango so that they can review the film, and even they're just coming forward with very tepid praise, because what was it, even Cap 4 got an 80% from the audiences, and it's Snow White's really bad, but it's not that much worse than Cap 4. Like, we're all dealing with like 2s and 3s across the board coming out of Hollywood recently. But just really squaring up the rest of these live action remakes just drives home just how awful these films are. Like, I forgot the Pinocchio one came out in 2022. It has 11% approval on Metacritic from, the 99 from Pinocchio in 1940. 1940, man. And then just looking at the people who were making these, like, we've talked about the Aladdin one before being made by Guy Ritchie, but Robert Zemeckis, he directed. Okay. Alice Through the Looking Glass. Well, wasn't that part 2? Like, didn't Johnny Depp do 2 of those ones? But yeah, remake of Alice in Wonderland. 68 for Alice in Wonderland. That's kind of crazy. But 102 Dalmatians. Well, yeah, against the original 1961. Like, that's a classic, man. Okay, and then 102 Dalmatians. I didn't watch that one, but I got fond memories of one that's going to come up here, obviously. But Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, I think that's the second one. But the first one got generally, positive reviews. Okay, but Lady and the Tramp 2019, that one's like super uncanny valley shit. Okay, and Lady and the Tramp, that's another one that I've watched quite a bit. Just going back over these old films and just comparing them with their live action counterparts is like, wow, I watched a whole bunch of these films and have really fond memories. It's funny, right? And talking about Snow White, it's one of those films that I can't necessarily point to exactly in my life when I first watched it, but it's one of those films that really sticks with you. You know the wishing well sequence, her running through the woods, first meeting the dwarves with their noses popping up over the foot of the bed. You really don't get that with any movie that comes out in like the past 20 years. Like, they don't have scenes that really resonate with you. It's just that's another topic for another time, but just how society is completely and totally cratered in the past 20 years or so. But yeah, Snow White getting a 50 on Metacritic, like, what are we doing out here? This shit sucks. And then 96 for the original. And speaking of 96, this is a film that I seen in the theaters, not the original. Like, I was born in 1990, obviously. But the original is just such a classic, and as much as I love Glenn Close just eating the scenery, and John Hughes, right, like Home Alone, and the guy who pretty much ruled the theaters, National Lampoon's Vacation series movies, like, the film is great. So it getting a 50, it being on par with a live action remake, it's like, it just kind of lets you know that sometimes audience scores aren't really up to snuff. And yeah, the verifiable bomb that was Dumbo. Then just comparing it, and then you got Aladdin, my personal favorite, like an 86 for the original that still stands the test of time, to Cuck Will Smith's a 53 with a remake, and then Alice in Wonderland 2010, The Lion King, the soulless Lion King. How can you do that? Why would you do that? And then Maleficent in 2014, and then Mufasa. Really? That is theoretically better than that soulless 2019 version? But still, you're dealing with just absolute trash. Like, none of these are even good. Like, it takes for oh my god, and Peter Pan and Wendy. First of all, nobody's seen that shit that just got sent straight to Disney Plus, and anybody who did review it, oh my god, ended up with brain cancer afterwards. So no, it's not good at all. And then the 94 Jungle Book movie, I don't remember that one, and that would have been right in my wheelhouse when I was growing up. So yeah, that one missed me. Okay, and Beauty and the Beast, like, the original is still perfect, and nobody speaks glowingly about the remake. Okay, and then this right here is just like, oh, okay, cool. The film that would go on to thank a concentration camp in China. Well, not specifically a concentration camp, but the region that the CCP wrangles up all of the Uyghur Muslims. They would thank them for allowing Disney to film this abomination of cinema. And that's the third best, the live action remake, according to the people. And then Cinderella. And then the best one is apparently Jungle Book 2016. A film that is theoretically better than the timeless original. I don't believe you. It made $1 billion. Lion King 2019 made $1 billion, and that's why Disney continues to do them, even when the people have spoken, and especially in regards to Snow White. When you get a much more popular review site like IMDb coming out with an audience score of 1.9. I mean, there was a meme that was running around on Monday that I was seeing that finally, Dragon Ball Evolution was usurped as by Snow White as the most hated live action remake of a property. You messed up, because I would put that's probably a little bit more accurate than the 50 that it's getting on Metacritic. Bro, unlike the cope that we're gonna see, in the next video for Assassin's Creed Shadows, even the legacy media isn't even about that anymore. Okay, because you got the BBC of all places coming out and shitting on this film. Live action remakes of Disney's cartoons aren't usually given a warm welcome by critics and commentators, but none of them have faced as much hostility as the new remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, because it's not Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's just simply Snow White and, there's those two groups of superfluous characters, and are succumbing to a Disney princess. Are we succumbing to a Disney princess fatigue? Well, no, you've already pillaged the entire roster of princesses and turned them all into girl bosses. So yeah, no, maybe a live action Disney princess fatigue, because there's still a lot of appreciation for their old depictions. But don't worry about it. Another issue is that Disney's Snow White, to use its official title, has been attacked from both sides on the political spectrum. It has been condemned for being too progressive, a Disney princess renowned for her pale skin, played by an actress with Colombian heritage, how dare they, and not progressive enough, caricatured dwarves in this day and age, how dare they, thrown into the pronouncements on the Israel-Gaza war made by its stars Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because Gal Gadot has made her, well, we kind of know her proclivities, but she's done that in private. Meanwhile, Zegler, because she can't do anything privately, she made it all about her brand. Again, arrogantly tagging thanks for checking out the trailer. It's the most viewed trailer, blah, 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 free Palestine. There's a time and place for your advocacy, but she clearly doesn't know that, and that's the reason why we're still talking about this film. And you've got a perfect storm of bad publicity. But without reading the entire review, which would end up to being a 3 out of 5 stars, when the BBC is calling you out for, well, it has to be the closest a Disney princess film has got to paraphrasing the Communist Manifesto. When the BBC thinks that your socialist proclivities are shining too brightly, you got yourself a problem. You got yourself a big problem. They're trying to explain this away. Talking Access Media here. How controversial Disney princess fared in blue and red county cinemas. Well, here's the thing, man. With the amount that it pulled in on its opening weekend, chances are nobody watched this shit. Okay, here's what we can tell you. Snow White, per Box Office Analytic Corporation, minted 60% of her ticket sales and drew 56.5% total attendance in theaters located in blue counties. So just about 50-50, if we're going to be completely honest. 60% of sales, 56% of attendees, 3.1 million admissions. That's crazy. Now, these figures come with an asterisk. It stands to reason that Snow White's business could be driven by blue counties simply because the majority of these theaters in the United States reside in such zones at 53% and generate 66.78% of overall movie ticket sales and 63.58% to cinema attendance, considering that liberal-leaning areas like Los Angeles, New York City, and Chicago are top-grossing box office markets. So yeah, here's the thing. Nobody's seen this movie. That's the long and short of it. You can continue to try to break things down. Family and animated movie ticket sales come from 63% blue counties and 37% red counties, while their attendance stems from 60% blue counties and 40% red counties. That means Snow White with 40% ticket sales and 43.5% admissions from red counties based cinemas over-indexed in such locations. Yeah, everybody's united apathy contributed to a fairly predictable outcome. A couple of progressives went out there, and that ended up making up a lion's share of the audience. And so what is Disney to do moving forward? Okay, because here's what I posited yesterday and kind of thought that, yeah, they're going to end up riding out the promotional tour for this movie a little while longer. They'll continue to push it this week. They have, hey man, they can unironically say without any caveats needed, not going back to the Mufasa Sonic 3 type situation where, we're the #1 movie in the world. Well, America kind of, sort of, well, if you take a look at it this way, it's, the best performing film that's out there right now. Okay. They can, yes, unironically say they have, well, and Disney in general can say, hey, we've got the top 2 grossing movies in the theaters right now. So come on out and see them, where you got some places that are in, spring break right now. You might try to entice some people to the theaters. That's, of course, wishful thinking because nobody's watching this shit. But after this week, and especially when the calendar turns over to April, yeah, I'm going to think that Disney, and especially if their Twitter account has anything to go on, because we looked at this, okay? We looked at this at the tail end of last week when it's like, okay, how are they going to approach the opening weekend? Because you got your couple of posts, you got your Gal Gadot post, and then you got your Rachel Zegler post where you've got, just a far more amenable shots in one, and then you got a very corporate and managed pictures in the other. So What are they going to end up doing as we move forward? Well, you take a look at the rest of the stuff that they started putting, and you got, oh, the Elio's going to be out in June. Here's another post of that. And then you got, oh, yeah, Lilo and Stitch. And we've got another Lilo and Stitch. And I find the first one that they put out there, oh, hey, guys, remember Snow White? Yeah, that was a thing that came out. But Lilo and Stitch is coming out. Lilo and Stitch is coming out. Cinderella, you like that one? Oh, then you've got, hey, the Beauty and the Beast. Hey, you want to take your kids to see a good old Disney princess flick? Well, Lilo and Stitch is coming out. Don't worry about the one that's in the theaters. You won't even remember that's in the theaters for very long. But you can come out and check out, yeah, hey, he doesn't look like a CGI abomination like those that dwarves do, or we're going to be faithful this time around. It won't be like that dumb horrifying blue man that you seen last time around with our other live action remake. But it's funny, right? And then you got Coco 2, and then you've got, oh yes, the most talked about movie of the year. Yep, very much. And I find that very interesting, because that's the last post that they made, and then it's Andor, and then it's, hey, 30 years before we decide to pilfer the corpse of Pixar and then do live action Pixar remakes, which goddamn well is coming. But the way that they phrase this tweet in regards to promoting and trying to get people out to the theaters for the #1 film in America, the most talked about movie of the year arrives. Are they admitting that they're trying to lean in the controversy of this film? Are they admitting that we kind of know that there's, not a lot of good going around. There's not a lot of goodwill around this movie. And yeah, we're just going to try to make the best of a bad situation. It's like, they could be doing that. So perhaps they're a little bit more self-aware than that. But they're not going to learn. Just like with their successes, they're not going to learn from their failures with this movie. It's not like this was a good film that ended up getting bogged down by bad controversy. This is a bad film in a long line of bad live action remakes, and they're just going to continue to run this concept into the ground until it finally gets driven home. Because for as much as I wanted this to be the end of these creatively bankrupt endeavors, very much seems, especially the way that Disney is putting it, okay, we're just going to be moving full steam ahead to the next project. Just get excited for next product. Don't think about last product. The last product was the best product since the previous last product, with the exception being Snow White. But we'll see, or we will see. We will definitely see, and especially looking at that ratio right there, they'll ride out the rest of this week, and once we get that box office drop off within the second week, which I can imagine will be fairly spectacular. Like, we're already going from a low mark, but when you're getting like 1.9 on IMDb, when you're getting middling reviews on Metacritic, when there's government communist rags like the BBC calling you out for being far too sympathetic to the regime, comrade, you messed up. And as such, I can see the pivot. I can see the profile picture getting taken down. I can see the bio being switched out because they already changed the banner. That was very much a Snow White centric one not that long ago, and them trying to memory hole this as quickly as possible because they have more family dollars to wring out, and they have more flops that they're going to need to enlist the shills for. So they decided that, hey, you guys, you can go ahead and take Snow White off. We know we messed up with that one, but hey, if you could go ahead and sharpen up your shill pencils for the Fantastic Four, yeah, that would be fantastic. That would also be fantastic if you could go ahead and help us justify that incoming abomination. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.